Hi, my name is Alexia. I teach 7th grade social studies at Vista Verde Middle School in North Phoenix. And my research question has to do with how culturally relevant pedagogy affects student engagement. I feel like one of the biggest problems that I've had in my 2 years of educating and teaching in public schools and prior tutoring, my biggest issue has definitely been engagement. And I'm really big into activism and social justice, and that also really ties into identity and the topic of who we are as people. And throughout my experience as a social studies teacher, teaching history and civics and economics and geography, the biggest thing that I see is a single-sided perspective, and it's definitely gotten better over the years for sure. But growing up in school, I often remember just learning very, very one-sided history, and for example, learning about the establishment of the Americas, but not learning about the genocide that it took to essentially make that possible. The sheer number of indigenous people that were genocided as a result of this colonization. Not learning about things like that. That was really something that always stuck out to me, and I wanted to know about that because it was more culturally relevant to me. And cultural relevancy also kind of has some biases around it. A lot of people it's kind of polarizing, I guess you could say. There's attacks going on against culturally relevant pedagogy, in attacks against what they call CRT, which is critical race theory, which introduces subjects that we are just kind of like basic precursors to learning anything about history, like slavery, indigenous people, colonization, imperialism, capitalism, etc. So there's just a lot of different things, and I feel like what I can do best as an educator with a population of students who essentially come from my community, majority Latino population of students, being Latina myself, I feel like my focus is really understanding, what's the difference between my students learning about Thomas Edison in Unit 1 and then in Unit 6 learning about Latin American revolutions. The difference is really palpable, and just in learning about it and seeing it in action, I see that my students get so much more excited learning about things that relate to them. And not only learning about things that relate to them, but things that have historically been marginalized and kind of pushed aside in a way that we just don't know about them. Students always find that more engaging than a lot of the stuff that's provided in the curriculum itself. So I really feel like this question is really going to dig into these answers that I'm looking for. I definitely obviously have an inclination towards the answer yes, that providing more culturally relevant pedagogy increases student engagement, but that also comes from doing research and researching articles that essentially tell us the same story, that culturally relevant pedagogy is extremely important. So keeping that in mind, and keeping in mind the fact that there are correlations and research studies that are out there that indicate so, I feel like this kind of helps it, but I feel like it's still understudied and it's not enough, essentially. So I definitely want to kind of fill the gap in there and see what I can find, or just do in my own research. So that is my question, and I hope that makes sense.